Hello, my name is Mackie. Welcome back to another episode of Death of a Team. For anybody who don't know what this thing is about, it's going to be a little bit of a summary about the former teams that have left us, and I will diagnose their cause of death. Why this team died? Is it for financial reasons? Is it for mismanagement? Is it for all these other stuff? We're not going to get to all the best games. We're not going to get to all the highlights. It's just going to be a summary of the team, their journey, their play, their statistical brilliance, and then their fall. Those kind of stuff. So last week we talked about Optic Gaming, the most brilliant team in all of North America, trying to become like a Call of Duty team transited to the league, and it did not even work out. Today, we decided to head to Korea and tell you the story of one of the most promising and the most tragic stories in all of League. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Griffin. Today, we decided to deep dive on this magnificent and most brutal team in all of League. So, we're going to kick off on November 15, 2016, when they are being named, and not bad, with the lineup of Greed, Young-hoon, Radar, Forts, and Bill. Yeah, not a brilliant team to, make a name for themselves. In fact, they didn't even play the LCK, of course. In 2017, the following year, 2017, January 10th, this team will name to Griffin. Fencer, which is now renamed as Sword. Reed and Shield are replaced Bill. So Fencer, which is now named for Sword, actually let me just rephrase that. Fencer, who is going to be later to Sword, replaced Reed as a team, and then Shield replaced Bill. Okay, all right. That is not the spiciness of the team that comes. So it's basically the same thing. Enter Tarzan in the building, and he decided to put Ben on the bench. Okay, yeah, you all know Tarzan. That is a much incredible name, of course. Well, actually, let's be honest. This is 2017. Nobody knows who Tarzan is, or nobody knows who Tarzan would become. But that is for later. That is for later, ladies and gentlemen. So stay with me. That was on March 11th. In 2017, Challenger Korea, yes, they started off in Challenger Korea, which is like the second tier to the LCK, in which promotion to the league is possible. This was before franchising and all that stuff. Their lineup is Sword, Young-hoon, Bin / Tarzan. This is a three-man jungle team trying to substitute in and out. Radar, Force, and Shield. And unfortunately, they finished 3-11 in series scoring, with 12-23 in game scoring, which is 3-11 best of 3 series, and then 12-23 in the actual game. And they finished 7th. And then they had to beat RGA 3-0 to stay in the Challenger career. Now, how that would have happened, and how they would have lost that series, none of the following things that is going to transpire would not be happening. But that is for later on. Jin joins and then Shield leaves. Bill decided to move up as coach on June 2nd. So Jin joins and Shield leaves on May 4th. Then June 2nd, Bill moves up to be coach. And enters CB Max a month later on July 2nd. And he will be, let's just say, the most important person in the entire thing. For better or for worse. Let's just put it that way. I said we're going to get to that later. We're going to get to all that later. Their lineup is Sword, Tarzan / Young-hoon, Radar, Force, and Jin. And they did improve in the LCK Challengers tournament. 8-6 with a 19-16 game score and qualified for the playoffs only to lose to APK Prince to 3-1. Now I believe that APK Prince went on to become Nongshim Red Force, I guess. I don't know. League of Legends kind of makes me up, of course, but this team could have been promoted to the LCK, but they didn't. And that is the end of the 2017 Challenger Korea season. Now, on November 19th, 2017, Viper and Lehans joined the team. Now, we are seeing what the real Griffin team looks like. It is tasty. But we're not done yet. We're not done yet. On top of Stevie Max being elevated to coach, The church and Chovy are arrived. March 7th, 2018. Actually, you know what? This is kind of like in the same area, same time as the 2018 LCK Spring Challenger. But look at this lineup. Sword, Tarsline says Gangster, which is formerly known as Young. Radar says Chovy, Viper, Lehans, and Nude, formerly Jin. Now, this lineup's kind of mixed, of course, but the core of the lineup is still there. The core of the lineup is going to be placed in. They finished first place with a 14-0 record, a perfect 14-0 record. Genji from like 2022 would have been salivated on that record. They only lost 2 games out of the 30, 28-2, and because of their performance, automatic promotion into the 2018 LCK Summer. Yeah, that is amazing. Viper pick up 6 Player of the Game awards. Radar pick up 4 Player of the Game awards, and the most top player was Nuguri. Yeah, with 7. Now Nuguri went on to have bigger and better things, of course, leading Damwon Kia or Damwon Gaming, mind you, to the 2020 Worlds title. So the fact that Viper being the same breadth as Nuguri at the time, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. On November 21st, Griffin has been bought by Still 8. Now Still 8 is one of the Korean esports entertainment brands, of course. Let's just say it's one of the architects of making esports a business type, or one of the entertainment products, of course, from Korea. And that will come into play later on. That acquirement of Still 8 will be come into play later on. Now, on to the 2018 summer line. Sword, Tarzan, Radar / Chovy swapping in and out. Viper and Lehans. Okay? Still rounding up the form. Of course, the mid lane is kind of proper, but Tarzan, Viper, and Lehans, and then Chovy rotating in and out. With Sword. Lord Almighty. But, again, get to it completely. They finished second in the LCK. Yes! Second in the LCK. They went from 2018 Spring Challenger in Korea to being second place beside KT Rolster. Yes, I spelled it wrong. My mistake. But only 1 game. Now, you have to understand at the time, this is 2018, and LCK has gone through a really, really down year. T1 was not good. Genji was kind of like the newish team coming in after winning Worlds, being Samsung Galaxy, of course, when Genji were fought in by Samsung Galaxy, of course. So LCK was having a down year in most opinions. And he had Griffin with his young, fresh, hungry lineup with a really good coach. Make this team becoming like the second best team in all of Korea, besides KT Rolster, who went on to win the whole LCK title. In fact, they lost to KT after beating the Freak of Freaks 3-2 to advance to the finals against. Well, okay, I already mentioned that they lost to KT, and that was when we have the King of the Hill tournament, which like first place is up there, second and third goes down there, and then down there. Yeah, the King of the Hill. The LCK format was kind of oldish back then. Although, despite that disappointment, Viper was tied second on season MVP with BBD, Kuro, and Lava. Of course, guess who won that award? Is Khan. Yeah, top laner God. That summer performance qualified Griffin into the regional finals. So they went from LCK Korean Challengers in 2018 to LCK Summer to be in a couple of games to Region Worlds. Like, what? This is Origin kind of stuff. This is literally Origin kind of stuff. Like Origin, like 2017 or something. This is amazing. Han unfortunately lost to Genji, who went on to have a stinker at Worlds in 2018, of course. And that was the end of the 2018 season. So, after that, Radar decided to be loaned out to Flash Wolves. And then on February 18th of the following year, I think it was 2019, February 18th, 2019, Kanavi decided to join. Now, he'll be interested. Now, again, Get to down thing later. You'll be really interested in the story. You'll be really interested. So for the 2019 LCK Spring lineup, we got arguably the most beautiful lineup in all of League of Legends. We got Sword, Tarzan, Chovy, Viper, Lahans. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. This could have won LCK titles in today's world. That lineup alone would have won you like 3 or 4 LCK titles at least, and could have won you one MSI, one Worlds. This was an unbelievably stacked team. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020. We don't know what this team will become. Of course, we don't know what these players will become. If you look at lineup compared to what we have in today, I will say with a hot take that 2019 Griffin lineup would have won every single LCK title under the sun. Well, almost every single LCK title. You know, patch changes, team dynamics, and all that stuff. But that 2019 Griffin lineup would have been cooking right now. And they cooked that LCK spring split. 15-3 in series records with a 31-8 record, and they would go all the way LCK finals, only to losing to Faker and SKT. And that was, let's be honest, T1 in their recovery back to being good, I guess. They have Khan in that lineup, of course, mind you, and Teddy. So this was a SKT1 team that it was not. They're not as great today to back then as it is today. And this was also the Faker downfall era. So for this team to lose to that SKT, and I think this Griffin team, this Griffin organization, have a tendency to do well regular season, but cannot get it done in the playoffs. And if you thought Gen G and Chovy choking in Worlds would be bad enough, man, this is kind of worse. This is even kind of worse. So on to 2019, and before that, Konami decided to move out for JDG. May 28th, Duran decided to move to the lineup. And then you get the 2019 LCK lineup: a Sword, Duran, Tarzan, Chovy, Viper, and Lahans. They finished first, a slightly down record of 13-5 with a 29-13 game record, but they made it to the finals once again. They lost to SKT once again. But because of their good performance in both the spring and then both the summer, they qualified to Worlds at the summit of the second seed. So, all's good. This team is doing well. We got these incredible young players. They're going to go on to bigger and better things. TV Max is coaching the absolute living out of it. And then he left. Yeah, September 25th, 2019, he left. Okay. Akeem, can you tell me the explanation of why he left? I mean, maybe he's just like, maybe this is the locker room problems, all the kind of stuff. There's got to be some kind of reason. Oh, yes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason, ladies and gentlemen. There is a reason. Let's just see. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is literally where the Griffin downfall begins. Let me just give me a couple of minutes to go through, and I'll come back to you. Okay. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the reason why CV Max left. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much where the downfall of Griffin began. With this entire dispute. I am not going to spend you like 20 minutes or 30 minutes of all kind of stuff. That is for like other resources and for YouTube channels to go through. But let's just pretty much go down there. Konami manipulated by their coach, of course, by having a 5-year contract instead of a 3-year LPL with a worse condition with JDG. and then Griffin will receive a higher transfer, and then CB Max is leaving. Viper and Sword decided to get criticizing the coach. CB Max explained all the departures with Griffin, including the manipulation of Kanavi, and fans are angered at him and Griffin. So congratulations, Griffin, on now becoming the most hated team in all of the league. Congratulations to that. And then the parent company, of course, and all that stuff. And then they decided to do some internal reviews, and then the coach decided it would be dismissive if vented obviously CB Max need to apologize. And then Kanavi decided to leave, and all these other stuff. We're not going to go through all of that. We are not going to do all of that, of course. But let's just say, my goodness of gracious, you could this should have been a Netflix movie even if you try. And look at the fight. 100,000 Korean won, which is massive. Of course, like $85,000. In American money, it's not that much, but in Korea, holy Jesus, that is a brutal fine. That's like the biggest fine in all of like LCK and all of Korean esports by a mile. So yeah, this was where the downfall of the Griffin team began. Now, of course, they gotta go through all of that with all that drama. And by the way, they don't know that until like after Worlds. But imagine if you are the Griffin team of Sword, Tarzan, Trophy, Viper, and Hands. You go through all that backdrop, and now you gotta go at Worlds. Like, how do you live with yourself? How would they live with themselves? This is amazing. In fact, if you're Viper and Lahans, I think Viper and Trophy, the two players that were criticizing the coach at that time, you're probably public enemy number one in all of Korea, mind you, to the eyes of their fans and to the eyes of Korea. So, yeah, their reputation is screwed. Kind of like the same thing with Anyone's Legend, although it was like a little incident. But still. They finished first in Group A at 5-1, ahead of G2, C9, and HKA. I'm not going to announce their full name because that would be even worse than the whole situation with Griffin, of course. They lost in the quarterfinals to IG at 3-1, which is pretty much the most underrated series. October 23rd, Kanavi returns from JDG. And then Cho Gyun-nam, the CEO of the team, of course, the one that's gone through all that debacle, has left for Griffin. And then 3 days later, Durant is suspended for 1 game for toxic behavior and ranked. It's a separate issue. And then I mentioned about the fines, of course. This is like the current currency, of course. Today's currency, of course. The 100,000 won in Korean, of course, or 68,000, which is still ludicrous. And then 6 days later, Still A decides to either remove unfair clauses on their contracts to be free agents. So it's either they remove all the unforced clauses, of course, from their contracts, or let these guys walk, or let these guys be free agents. And Durant, Chovy, Lahans decided you want to be free agents. So there goes 3/5 of your World 2019 team. And oh my goodness, it gets even worse. 2 days later, November 27, 2019, they either replaced new management until 2019 or liquidated all remaining shares in Griffin and still ate until the start of promotion after the 2020 LCK split. And if it fails, the eligibility will be forfeit. All the players, all the team will be gone. So it's going to be like wiped from existence. Like, let's be honest, Korean esports does not screw around with all of this. They even go through like all the same thing with StarCraft, for God's sakes. So they're just like, either you do something about it, you clear all the whole management, or goodbye. See you later. And Kanavi just left. So that's great. So that's like, I think that is basically the entire 2019 team left. Oh no, Kanavi just left, which will be more important. Yeah. So December 5th, a couple of days later, Untari joins Griffin. December 26th, which is Christmas, which is Boxing Day, of course. Griffin decided to box out all the management, of course. January. Seriously, of all the names you have for your CEO, January. In the month of December, your CEO is January. All right, then, esports, man, I guess. December 2019, Kabi decided to move to the starting roster. Then January 13th of 2020, Yukal joins the team. And then you get the 2020 LCK lineup of Sword, Hoya, Utara, Tarzan still in the team. There are Yukal, then Yon, and then Viper, Erolf, 8 Dragon, and GMB. Yeah, this lineup is cancer, by the way. Literal cancer. I mean, look at this. It's a far cry from that 2019 lineup. A far cry. In hindsight, of course, but a far cry from that lineup. And guess what? Finished 5 and 13 with a 16 and 29 record, and then lost to both Serbia Gaming and Sandbox Gaming to be relegated from LCK for Korea Challengers. Yeah, so back down to the bottom they went. So they went from Challengers Korea in 2018 to LCK Summer to 2 finals appearances to appearing at Worlds to the whole Konami situation and then relegated all in the space of like 2 years. 2 years! That escalated so quickly, my goodness. And then Wadin joins. Yeah, you know, Wadin, the support player from like G2 way back when. Yeah, he's going to join the team. Sure. But unfortunately, Yatara, Yukon, and Viper have to leave. And then Tarzan and Wadid leave. So that is all of the 2019 Griffin roster gone. Completely gone. And then in 2020 summer lineup, you got Hoya, Citrus, Nayon, Wayne, Yusuf with Chaos, Radder, and Choco being coaches. Yeah, we went from Sword, Tarzan, Chovy, Viper, Lahans to Hoya, Citrus, Nayon, Wayne, and Yusuf. My lord, the downfall has been brutal. They finished 5 and 9, 16 and 19, missed the playoffs, and then on January 5th, 2021, this entire team disbanded with the only player that has been with this team throughout the very beginning. Look at this. From the very beginning of the Griffin lineup. All of this. He has been there through all of this, from the start of the roster with the not bad to the rebrand of Griffin, to be in the Challenger Series for all that time, to be promoted to LCK, to be in the finals, to be in Worlds for all the Kanafi situation with the CV Max situation, to being relegated, and now he left. And so does the team. And I have to say, this man has been loyal to a team. I give him that. So, let's look at the record. Best of 3 score lines, 76 and 54 with a 183, 127 record. Best of 5 score line, 2 and 6 with a 13 and 20 record. International best of 1 and 5 and 1, which gives you a total game score of 201 and 148, which is a 57.5% game score rate, and a total series score rate of 78 and 60, which is 56.5%. So overall, they were like a 57, 58% team, which is pretty good, of course. And the cause of death, of course, for this team is really bad management. Because this whole Kanavi situation with the CV Max could have been handled a little bit differently. But because of this situation being blown up to their faces, and the way the contract being structured, the way the manipulation of this started, this was poor management from the beginning. This was really poor management. And to treat your young players like this, it sets up a really toxic environment, a really toxic nature, and I feel like, yeah, that is on them. That is on poor management and all kinds of stuff. But we are not done with this episode. So that is pretty much the end of this episode. That was pretty much the end of this part of the episode. But we have to twist the knife even further. Because we want to know where the 2019 are at right now. This is kind of like a where are they now kind of situation. So for Griffin, CV Max have been coaching from Dragon X to DRX from 2019 to 2021. Then coached for Freeze for 2 years in 2022-24. Coached for GDG for 4 months now. Currently the coach of D plus Kia. Right then. Soar decided to move out and play for the rest of his career with Breon, OK Savins, OK Savins, the whole Breon team, of course, until his retirement in 2024. Then we get to the major part. Tarzan played for LNG for 2020 to 2023, made 2 World appearances, finished second in the split with JDG, then goes to Weibo Gaming in 2024, finished summer, qualified for Worlds when his team got defeated in BLG in the semis, and then joined AL, won spring finals, and of course was the finals MVP with an incredible Z Game 5 game where you literally play out of his skin. Then finished third in MSI, then went to Worlds only to lose in the quarterfinals to that incredible quarterfinals to T1. So I think Tarzan did well. Then we get to Chovy, the current best mid laner in all of League. Went to DRX and Dragon X for a year, made World 2020 in the quarterfinals, only to lose to eventual finals down 1 gaming. Then moved to Honolulu People for 1 year, made another World of Fire appearances, losing to T1 in the quarters. He's now playing for Gen G, where he has won 5 LCK titles, 2 MSIs, an EWC title, 2 quarterfinal appearances, and 3 semifinals in Worlds. I guess everybody knows about Joker. But the fact that he actually, made all of this, of course, after Griffin, it's amazing. It's astonishing. And to me, he's still the best mid laner in all the world. Then to Viper, of course. Played for Honor People for 1 year in 2020, then went to EDG in 2021, win Summer, and then went on to win Worlds with that incredible EDG team of JJ and then Scout, of course, with that team. Then went to DRX, actually went to Worlds again, lost to that incredible DRX team that went on to win Worlds. Like, yeah, that DRX team. And he's currently playing for Honor Life Esports when he won 2024 LCK Summer, won LCK Cup, first Dan, I know Mickey Mouse tournament, but still, and then lost to the quarterfinals to both BLG and GNG in back-to-back years. And finally to Lahans. He played for Honor Life Esports, Freaks, and Gen G for a couple of years. Then to KT Walls, and now currently playing for Nanjing Rifles. He's a winner of the LCK Summer 2022, 2024 LCK Spring, 2024 MSI with Gen G, and made 3 straight World appearances from 2022 to 2024. So, the current 2019 team has made it to like a couple of World appearances, won a couple of MSIs, won a couple of LCK titles. Like I said, this 2019 team would have stick together and they would have won so much more. This team could have done so much more, but because of shitty mismanagement, they screwed up. And I forgot one more person that I would like to talk about. I have one more person to talk about. So this is Duran. Right. He is currently now on T1. Just signed a massive deal, of course. And if you do not notice, he's a world champion. Yes, the guy who crapped himself on Camille, the guy who literally nearly threw the entire series to KT Walter, is a freaking world champion. Yeah, look at this. Used to play for Griffin a couple of years, then to Dragon X and DRX a couple of years, went to KT Walter, went to Gen G, who, by the way, beat T1 in that incredible LCK tournament, of course, LCK 2023, of course, and of course made the Worlds and all that stuff. Then gone to Honor Life Esports, made the Worlds, of course, and all that stuff. Then he's now the current top laner of T1 where he won Worlds. And now, of course, I would have gone on to say Kanavi, who done well, of course, went to JDG, made semifinals and all that stuff. But you know what I mean. This Griffin roster got screwed up, and yes, I'm sorry to see all this. This Griffin team got screwed up because of horrible management and all that stuff. They're going to be like Vox Machina, for God's sake. A bunch of ragtag people coming together and actually dominate LCK. Because of shitty mismanagement and because of everything that's gone on, we will never know what this team will be. And for that, they succumbed to a really, really tragic death. So anyways, thank you all for watching this whole thing. If you like the whole thing, please like, comment, subscribe to this channel for more depth of team news and all kind of stuff and more League of Legends. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next time. Ciao.